Welcome to Cypress Creek Adventures. Hi there. Welcome to this week's adventure. This week we're going to go back in the garden and plant some of our seasonal crops and greenhouse plants, some seed. Also we're going to plant a bunch of flowers. And I have a lot of places around here that I keep flowers going for the bees and for butterflies, and we also have milkweed that grows for the monarchs. So we'll look at all that, and so we'll move on to the garden. Okay, so we're back out here to the garden spot. I have this magnificent mullein that's been growing in here, and I have them all over the place on my little homestead here, and I've moved this one over here in the corner, and it's coming back. They don't transfer too good, but I kept a lot of water on it. So we'll move on across here to the garden, and all this we planted in that last episode, except for the garlic, and I did plant the peas right afterwards. And then we'll move on down here. We got spinach going. We've had a pretty tough spring. We've had snow, and we've had cold and real long, wet, cold days and nights, but things are coming along pretty well. Oh, I did put these beans in too about a week or so ago. They're string beans, and they seem to be doing pretty well. And there's a Swiss chard we planted. It's about ready to cut now. So I want to add some kale. We cut the kale that was here, and we got 4 big quarts of blanched kale in the freezer. But those kale plants produced all last summer and then again this spring, so they don't owe me a thing. So add some seed in here and see if we can get some kale going for this fall. And the rest of it's coming along pretty well. So we'll start over here. We've had swings from needing to water the garden to being too wet, and so it's pretty much typical for here in the Upper Delmarva Peninsula. So I went to a garden center and I picked up 2 things of broccoli. They're looking a little rough because we've had some freezing weather, and they had lost some plants and had to replace them. So we got some yellow squash here, and we have Anaheim peppers, and then I have all heirloom varieties of tomatoes. And I have a hard time with tomatoes with stink bugs, and I found that these help some, and been doing a little more research about some other things I can do organically to keep the stink bugs off. And so we got some kale seed here, and then these are my most favorite squashes, these white patty pans. I just love how they taste, and the yellow squash as well, but those are my favorites. So then move over here, and I bought some extra gladiolas. I don't know if a lot of them aren't going to be big enough this year to put a nice bloom up, but I do have a few in here, and this is the ones that I dug for the last couple years. And then this is the amaryllis that I had in the house that we put in the garden every year. And it's got a couple babies that we got last year, so we'll spread them out and help them to get bigger. All right, we're going to plant some kale in this spot here that's right alongside of the Swiss chard. And so we'll have some kale for this fall. Seed is very small. As you can see, it's very tiny. So we only need a few seeds here just to go this way. That right there, believe it or not, it's probably about 50 seeds. So then we'll cover this up supposed to get some rain next few days, so alright, I'm gonna tamp this down. Alright, so we got our kale here planted next to the Swiss chard, so I have my greens in there. And my beans are still trying to come up, and they've been a little bit yellow because it's been so cold. I'm going to put a little fertilizer on them. And it's supposed to rain next couple days. So, and also spinach, I had some places that were missing, and now those that I filled in are starting to come up. So that'll fill this row out. And these little potatoes that we planted, they're doing very well. I had to pick a few bugs off, and so then we're up here to our garlic we planted on the fall, and that'll be ready probably next month. The peas were the same way. I had a tough time getting them up, and I don't see any new ones yet, but I did plant to fill in the spaces. There's one right there that's coming up. Here's another new one. So hopefully that'll fill the row out. And I use this old wire here for it to grow on, so it's not laying on the ground. And so now I've got this cow panel here. And this is what I plant my tomatoes against. And as the tomatoes get bigger, I weave the plants in and out of the big spaces without tying them. And it works very well because of the wind, and it keeps them off the ground. And so we'll set these tomatoes in next. Alright, so here we got our tomatoes. And this one here, this first one I put in is called a heirloom beefsteak. It says mortgage lifter. I would hope so. It would be a good thing. So put these in. I got my little trowel here that I made. Now, I like to plant these a little deeper. You plant transplant. I'm going to take and pull some of these off. These lower leaves are not necessary, and they won't hurt the plant. I'm going to put some more strength into the top here, so we'll bury these all the way up to here in the ground, and they'll go ahead and root real well. So we get those in there, make a little channel around it so we get some moisture to run to the plant. And so now we have this brandy wine here. It's also a beef steak. We'll put that one in here. Same thing, I'm going to trim these bottom leaves off. Just break them off and be careful that you don't damage the plant. Put them in here. Put this moist soil around it. Push it down nice. Leave a little ring around there for the water. And so we'll continue on down the row here and finish all these. Alright, so we got all our tomatoes in. And I wanted to try something new this time. I read about this fellow was staking up his squash plants. So I had these extra squash plants. I was only supposed to have 2 plants, and there was 4 in that little container. So we'll set those out. And then I'll put the Anaheim pepper right here on the end. I can tie it up as well so that it won't fall over when it gets heavy with fruit. Okay, so now we're going to take and plant our broccoli, and as every other time you think you're buying 8 or 4 or whatever. We'll see what we got in this one, and they're pretty well rooted. And these are really showing some. So we have supposed to be 2 there. We got 4. So take a knife. If you pull it apart, you'll allow it to break too many roots. So what we'll do is we'll take our knife and we'll cut down here with this razor knife and open this up. And now the roots will pull apart from each individual plant, as you can see right here. So we'll make a whole row of broccoli. Here's another one that has 2. So we'll take knife and find this kind of center here, cut down through here, and cut through the roots, and then spread it open, and the plant has more of a chance. They're so close together. So we have those, and now we have 3, and we're supposed to be 2, which I'm not complaining because I got extra plants for the same money. So let's separate these out, and see, this would have been the pod that it would have normally had, and we had to separate them like this. So I'll get these set in, and then I'll show you after. All right, so now that we have, this is the balance of the garden, and we have our beautiful mullein here, and I have several of these that grow on the property. They grow wild, but I move them around a little bit. This one over here in the corner I moved, and he's coming back. They don't transplant very well, but he was. All right, so I got the last of the vegetable plants in, and got 2 hills of the white patty pans. And all around this edge of my garden, I let the chick grass grow, chickweed, and I feed it to chickens. And so I've got some places that are still pretty high, and I have some other places here on the homestead that I saved that I don't mow, and it's in the shade. So probably till the end of next month I'll be able to give them green, because I haven't been able to free range them because of so many predators. So, and then I want to just highlight a little bit on this end. Is weeds and stuff growing right now, lamb's quarters and a whole bunch of other stuff. But the flower plants will start coming up here shortly, and I'll go and I'll transplant them, and then of course pull all the weeds out. So this whole end will be nothing but butterfly and hummingbird habitat. And I have my gladiolus, and we'll plant them off of this beautiful mullein that I have. Well, thanks for watching this episode. I hope that it's been informative, especially if you're a beginning gardener, how you can grow a lot of stuff on a little bit of ground. And for me, I only grow what I like to eat. And some people put in gardens and plant all kinds of excessive things, and then they don't eat it, or they can't even give it away. So for me, I plant what I know I can put up, and we put a whole big row of broccoli in, but all that broccoli will go in the freezer. And same with a lot of the other things that are out here. And I certainly enjoy coming out and getting string beans and taking them right in the house, and you know, have them for dinner. And when they come on hard, then we freeze some, and so we just manage the garden. And as things slow up, we take out and replant and keep going until nature says we got to stop. And we'll plan for the fall. You know, we got the kale started. We certainly probably won't cut kale. If we cut any at all, it'll be at the end of the summer. But it'll be there for this fall and winter. And same with the Swiss chard. So I'm glad you're watching. Thanks for subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to my channel. And look forward to seeing you in the next episode. And thank you very much. And God bless.